A woman's journey does not begin when the world applauds her. It begins in silence, when she questions herself. Self-doubt is not something a woman is born with. It is not written into her nature, nor is it a reflection of her true capacity. It is learned slowly, quietly, through repeated exposure to external voices and internalized expectations. In the beginning, a woman trusts herself naturally. She moves, speaks, and dreams without questioning whether she deserves space. Doubt enters later, shaped by experiences that teach her to measure herself against others. Comparison is one of the earliest teachers of self-doubt. A woman looks around and begins to notice who is praised, who is chosen, who is valued. Without realizing it, she starts ranking herself, her appearance, her intelligence, her worth, against standards that were never designed for her individuality. Over time, this habit of comparison convinces her that she is always behind, always lacking, always in need of improvement before she can be enough. Expectations deepen this doubt. Society hands her a narrow definition of success, beauty, and behavior. She is told when to speak, how to look, how to love, and how much space she is allowed to occupy. When she does not perfectly fit these expectations, she assumes the problem is within her. She does not question the standard, she questions herself. Slowly, her inner voice stops sounding like her own and starts echoing what she has been told. Repetition turns these messages into beliefs. A single comment may hurt, but repeated comments shape identity. When she hears the same criticisms from different sources, family, culture, media, past relationships, her mind accepts them as facts. The brain is trained through repetition, not truth. What is repeated feels real even when it is false. This is how self-doubt becomes familiar, and familiarity becomes comfort. Even when it is painful, self-doubt also grows through moments of failure that are misunderstood. When a woman fails without guidance, reflection, or support, she does not see failure as an event. She sees it as a definition of who she is. One mistake becomes evidence that she is incapable. One rejection becomes proof that she is unworthy. Instead of separating actions from identity, she blends them together and carries them forward. Over time, this learned doubt shapes her behavior. She hesitates before speaking. She waits for permission. She underestimates her ability and overestimates the judgment of others. Not because she lacks strength, but because she has been trained to doubt her instincts. The world did not break her. It conditioned her. Understanding that self-doubt is learned changes everything. If it was learned, it can be unlearned. If it came from outside, it does not define what is inside. This realization is not emotional. It is practical. It gives her responsibility back. She no longer fights herself, she studies herself. She begins to see doubt not as her identity, but as a habit formed through time, experience, and repetition. Awareness is the moment a woman stops reacting and starts observing. It does not arrive dramatically, and it does not demand immediate change. It begins quietly, often in discomfort, when she notices that her thoughts are shaping her life more than reality itself. For the first time, she creates a small distance between who she is and what her mind is saying. That distance is where growth becomes possible. Most women live inside their thoughts without questioning them. Every doubt feels personal. Every fear feels factual. Awareness breaks this pattern by introducing a simple but powerful shift. She no longer assumes that every thought is true. She starts to watch them rise and fall, noticing patterns, instead of obeying impulses. In doing so, she regains control that she did not realize she had lost. This observation changes how she experiences emotion. Instead of being overwhelmed by fear, shame, or insecurity, she learns to sit with them. She recognizes that emotions are temporary signals, not permanent states. They come and go like weather. When she stops resisting discomfort, it loses its power to control her decisions. Awareness teaches her that avoidance strengthens fear, while presence weakens it. As awareness deepens, she begins to notice triggers. Certain situations, people, or memories activate the same emotional responses repeatedly. Before, these triggers controlled her automatically. Now, she sees them coming. She notices the tightening in her body, the rush of negative thoughts, the urge to retreat or please. This moment of recognition gives her choice. She may still feel fear, but she is no longer ruled by it. Awareness also reveals how much energy is wasted on unconscious habits. She sees how she overthinks, overexplains, or seeks validation, not with judgment, but with clarity. Judgment keeps a woman trapped. Awareness frees her when she observes without attacking herself. She creates space for discipline rather than punishment. This clarity extends to her relationships. She becomes aware of how she shows up, where she abandons her boundaries, where she stays silent to keep peace, where she gives more than she receives. Awareness does not immediately fix these patterns, but it exposes them. Exposure is powerful. What is seen clearly cannot continue unconsciously. With time, awareness reshapes her inner dialogue. She notices how often she speaks to herself with harshness and impatience. Instead of trying to replace negative thoughts with forced positivity, she learns something stronger: neutrality. She stops exaggerating her flaws and stops dramatizing her fears. She returns to what is real, measurable, and present. This turning point is subtle but irreversible. Once a woman becomes aware, she cannot fully return to unconscious living. She understands that mastery does not come from controlling the world, but from understanding her own mind. Awareness becomes her foundation. From it, every disciplined action, every boundary, and every moment of self-respect begins to take shape. Discipline is often misunderstood as restriction, but in reality, it is structure. It is the framework that allows a woman to build trust with herself. Self-worth does not grow from moments of inspiration or emotional highs. It grows quietly through repeated actions that align with her values, even when motivation is absent. Discipline is the bridge between intention and identity. At first, discipline feels uncomfortable. It asks her to act before she feels ready. It asks her to move despite doubt, to stay consistent despite boredom, and to choose long-term growth over short-term comfort. This discomfort is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that she is no longer ruled by impulse. Each disciplined action, no matter how small, sends a clear message to her nervous system. She can rely on herself. Trust is the foundation of self-worth. When a woman repeatedly breaks promises to herself, her confidence weakens. She begins to question her ability to follow through, not just in small habits, but in life decisions. Discipline repairs this trust. When she commits to waking up at a certain time, completing a task, or maintaining a boundary, and honors that commitment, her inner voice changes. Doubt softens. Certainty strengthens. Discipline also simplifies life. Instead of negotiating with her emotions every day, she follows structure. Structure removes unnecessary choices, reducing mental fatigue. She no longer asks, "Do I feel like it?" She asks, "Is this aligned with who I am becoming?" This shift moves her from emotional living to intentional living. Her actions become less reactive and more deliberate. Through discipline, she learns to regulate herself. She understands when to rest and when to push forward. True discipline is not self-punishment. It is self-leadership. It respects the body while training the mind. It does not demand perfection, but consistency. Missed days do not lead to collapse. They lead to recommitment. As discipline strengthens, her self-image changes. She stops identifying as someone who trays and starts seeing herself as someone who acts. This identity shift is powerful. Confidence becomes a byproduct, not a goal. She no longer seeks reassurance from others because her actions reassure her daily. Discipline also sharpens boundaries. A woman who values her time, energy, and focus does not waste them easily. She becomes selective, not out of arrogance, but out of respect for her own growth. This selectiveness further reinforces self-worth. She realizes that saying no is not rejection of others, but protection of her path. Over time, discipline transforms her relationship with struggle. Challenges no longer feel personal or overwhelming. They become part of the process. She does not ask why things are hard. She asks what is required. This mindset builds resilience, stability, and quiet confidence. Through discipline, self-worth stops being something she hopes to feel and becomes something she lives daily through action. Self-worth is often mistaken for a feeling that arrives once everything is in place. Many women wait to feel confident before they act, respected before they set boundaries, or worthy before they take up space. This waiting keeps them trapped. Self-worth does not come after action. It is created through choice. It is a decision made repeatedly, especially in moments when it would be easier to shrink, tolerate, or stay silent. A woman begins to build self-worth the moment she decides to take herself seriously. This does not require confidence. It requires honesty. She sees where she has been betraying herself, accepting disrespect, ignoring her needs, or over-giving in the hope of being valued. Instead of justifying these patterns, she acknowledges them without self-punishment. Awareness alone is not enough. Decision is what turns insight into change. Choosing self-worth often feels uncomfortable because it disrupts familiar dynamics. When a woman changes how she treats herself, others may resist. They were comfortable with the version of her that did not ask for much. Self-worth demands that she tolerate this discomfort without retreating. She learns that being misunderstood is sometimes the cost of being aligned with herself. This decision shows itself through boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are standards. They define what she will accept and what she will walk away from. Each time she honors a boundary, she strengthens her self-worth. Each time she violates one, she weakens it. The mind learns through behavior. By acting in alignment with her values, she teaches herself that her needs matter. Self-worth also appears in how she speaks to herself. She decides to stop using harsh language internally, not because she is avoiding accountability, but because cruelty does not produce growth. Responsibility does not require self-hate. She corrects herself with clarity, not shame. This internal shift reinforces her decision to treat herself with respect, even while striving to improve. Making self-worth a decision also changes how she handles fear. Fear does not disappear. Instead, she stops letting it decide for her. She acts with fear present, Understanding that courage is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to be ruled by it. Each courageous action reinforces her belief in her own capability. Over time, this decision becomes embodied. She stands differently. She speaks with intention. She no longer over-explains or seeks permission to exist fully. Her worth is no longer something she negotiates. It is something she practices daily through choices, boundaries, and self-respect. Through decision, self-worth moves from an abstract idea into a lived reality that shapes every aspect of her life. True strength is often misunderstood as dominance, loudness, or constant assertion. In reality, strength reveals itself through calm presence and grounded behavior. A woman who has developed inner stability does not rush to prove herself. She does not seek attention, validation, or approval to confirm her worth. Her strength is felt rather than announced, expressed through consistency, composure, and self-control. Calmness is not passivity, it is mastery. When a woman learns to regulate her emotions, instead of reacting impulsively, she gains power over her responses. Situations that once triggered insecurity, anger, or fear no longer control her behavior. She feels the emotion, but she chooses her action. This ability to pause creates authority within herself. Others sense this control and respond to it naturally. Embodied strength shows in how she carries herself. Her posture reflects confidence without arrogance. Her movements are intentional, not rushed. She listens more than she speaks. And when she does speak, her words are measured. She understands that silence can be stronger than explanation. This presence communicates self-assurance without the need for justification. Because she is grounded, she does not chase validation. Validation seeking creates dependence, and dependence weakens self-trust. A woman who embodies strength has already validated herself through discipline, boundaries, and alignment with her values. Praise does not inflate her, and criticism does not collapse her. She takes what is useful and leaves the rest. This grounded strength also shapes her relationships. She does not tolerate chaos, disrespect, or inconsistency. Not because she wants control, but because she values peace. She understands that peace is a sign of inner order. When something threatens that order, she addresses it directly or walks away calmly. There is no drama, no resentment, only clarity. Embodied strength allows her to remain steady during uncertainty. When life presents challenges, she does not panic or seek escape. She focuses on what is within her control, her effort, her mindset, and her actions. This stability makes her reliable to herself and to others. Reliability builds trust, and trust reinforces self-worth. Over time, this calm presence becomes her identity. People may describe her as strong without fully understanding why. They feel safe around her. They respect her boundaries without being told. Her energy speaks before her words. This is the result of inner discipline and self-mastery practiced daily. True strength is not a performance. It is a state of being. It comes from alignment between thought, action, and values. When a woman lives this alignment, she no longer needs to defend her worth. Her presence alone becomes proof of it. Write the conclusion of the above speech. A woman's growth is not marked by applause or recognition. It is marked by inner alignment. From the moment she recognizes that self-doubt was learned, to the moment she chooses awareness, discipline, and self-respect, her transformation becomes inevitable. She no longer waits to feel worthy. She acts with intention, even in uncertainty, and that action reshapes her identity. Self-worth, once distant and conditional, becomes grounded and embodied. It is reflected in her choices, her boundaries, her calm presence, and her consistency. She understands that strength is not forceful, but steady, not reactive, but deliberate, not loud, but unshakable. This journey from self-doubt to self-worth is not a destination, it is a way of living. A woman who walks this path does not seek permission to stand tall. She has mastered herself, and through that mastery, she moves through life with quiet power, clarity, and peace.